Today I'm going to talk about how to heal yourself so that you are no longer attracted to abuse. I've talked about this in other videos, but I'm going to put another spin on it today. And basically, you want to get to the point where abuse feels like eating poop. There's nothing attractive about it. There's nothing enticing about it. There's no benefit to it, right? It's just gross. You just don't want it anymore. No part of you wants to be engaged in that dynamic anymore. So I'm going to talk about the narcissist-empath dynamic. And I'm going to explain to you what a narcissist is based on the many people in my life who have been therapists, classically trained therapists for longer years than I've been alive, and they have amazing pattern recognition and explain to me the variations and nuances of how narcissism can show up. I'm going to explain to you what that actually is, because that term is thrown around very ignorantly, stupidly, immaturely, and also just to bring into your awareness that the empath, although the empath has a harder time healing from the dynamic, the empath is also not the victim. The empath is not the victim. The empath does its own shadowy behavior, which I'll explain to you, which is what a person that's been receiving narcissistic abuse has to learn how to heal. So a narcissist is someone who has a false sense of self, which everybody has. You could argue, like, in public, you're a little different than you are in private. Maybe you're more hyper around crowds. Maybe you're more tired around crowds. Maybe you're more talkative. That has to do a lot with even human design and your energy. But I'm talking about something different. It's a construct that is a reaction to feelings of extreme frailty and lack of worth. It's a vehicle that the person creates. It's like imagine a person like inside of a transformer robot. Like, the transformer is big and strong and a superhero, but the driver is probably like a little child, like peeing themselves. And that's the reality. So we have compassion for that. But you have to know how to name something so that you can get out of the trance of how you get seduced by it. So this false sense of self is based on superiority. It's based on being superhuman, being smarter than everyone, more divine, more righteous, and there's a huge scale of what that could look like, and the more subtle things are harder to spot. It's obvious, like in a malignant narcissism, like a politician, right, who thinks that they can get away with anything and is kind of wanton and reckless, and to the point where they might fondle children on stage in front of the whole country, right? We've seen that. That's of the most malignant type, that's like, you can't touch me. I can do anything I want. This world is for me to just use. And that's a very extreme example. It could be a partner who, has cheated on you every other weekend for 10 years. And in their mind, they honestly don't believe there's anything wrong with it. They honestly don't believe there's anything wrong with it. They don't tell you about it. They might have a whole life behind your back. They don't believe there's anything wrong with it because they need to get what they want, but they refuse to do it by the medium of taking personal responsibility and seeking help. A more subtle form of this superhero mask is righteousness. And this is where this can get very tricky with the dynamic of the empath. It's so tricky, and I want to just unpack it. And really, like a narcissist, where they might be a benefic type of personality. They might do a lot of charity. They might be healers. They might be, and I want to say very emphatically that do not be seduced. Listen to the alarm that just came in. Do not be seduced by spiritual gurus, channelers, psychics. I live in Miami. There's a psychic, I could throw a rock and hit 3 psychics. And I can, there's people that actually bring through really high energy, but in their personal lives, they haven't really done the inner work to be able to embody that energy. So having a gift, right? Musicians have gifts, rock stars have gifts, artists have gifts. Gift or a siddhi, a spiritual siddhi, does not equal that the person has done the work to be able to show up as a loving presence that is not behaving in a transactional way in relationship. Okay, just please Please know that. Because because the empath tends to feel less than everyone. Because the empath has evidence that it can't manifest as well, it's more dysfunctional, it feels so much. So anyone with a gift, right, the empath will pedestalize, and really that's a setup to be in a dynamic where you're pedestalizing someone who you believe is better than you. Narcissist believes they're better than you, and so that's a perfect match. So I'll get into that later. But so that personality construct is, right, they really think they're superhuman. They might think they're the most compassionate people in the world. But yet in their relationships, they exhibit all kinds of emotional manipulation. One form of emotional manipulation is that they are never wrong. Everything that goes wrong in the relationship is the other person's fault. They're never me wrong. No, I have a gift. Look at me, look at my track record. Look how amazing I am, because it's all about the image of how they want to be seen. So that's like a huge, like, it's not necessarily as malignant as all those other examples. Might be a person who's like lying to you and cheating on you. It might just be a person who never forgives you for anything. Might be a person who just always points out your flaws. It might be a person who energetically is always at arm's length from you, and instead of working with you to heal things and taking self-responsibility, they sit back and they wait for you to fix yourself. And that's not love, right? As I described in other videos, that's a transaction. The transaction is, in this equation, I am the good one, you are the bad one. And no matter what the empath feels, whatever they know fundamentally, so that something's very often wrong, the narcissist will never admit to it and never apologize. And I'm not going to say never, but really as a pattern, they tend to not take personal responsibility for how they hurt other people. And the tricky part is, if they do it in subtle ways, they keep it hidden from themselves. And they'll even compare themselves to more malignant types of narcissists and say, well, I'm not a cheater. They might have like an impeccable moral code. But when you're relating to them, like, it doesn't feel like they have your best interests at heart. It doesn't feel like they take you as a part of them. It's like them versus you. It's an antagonistic, almost competitive feeling. So they often actively, and I'm generalizing, this is not true of everybody that has this, but they very often actively resist getting help because they don't want to give up the game, because it's too powerful, because that insecurity is so frail that giving up this superhuman transformer costume is way too scary for them. But they also don't seek help because, like, even on the conscious level, they believe they're smarter than all the therapists. They believe that nobody's at their level, and they're basically very, how do you say this? Unimpressed with anybody else's perspective. But that's just their refusal to accept anything outside of their own state of mind. Because, it's true that there are some therapists that are, especially if you're in the world of energy healing and you know a lot about how things work, it can be very tempting to say, nobody can help me. No, I know more than those people. But you know what? Everybody, my Kabbalah teacher said that his teacher would ask God a question and then ask a homeless man for the answer, because everybody's a mouthpiece for God. And if you want to heal, that therapist will help you, or that friend, or whoever. If you want help, you'll get help. So part of the narcissistic construct, really, it's a lot about the transaction of them playing a role of superiority. So they're there to save you, they're there to teach you, they're there to be your God, your reckoner, to teach you how to be a good person, to teach you how to be a good citizen, to teach you how to be holy, right? They're there to play a role. And when you no longer buy into that anymore, they start to get very angry, because their supply, which part of the pillars of this disorder is that they require a supply. they start to get very, very disoriented and upset because the role that they were hiding in, that they were getting their supply from, doesn't work anymore. So you start to realize, like, I'm not broken, I don't need your opinion, like, I accept you, like, as my partner, for example. I'd accept conversations, but I'm not going to live a life where you're telling me what's wrong with me and what I need to fix. And somebody who I respect very much, who's been dealing with narcissism for 40 years, said that the biggest red flag is when a partner doesn't want to come in to get help, but they'll want to call the therapist and tell her what's wrong with the other one. Let me tell you what's wrong with her. Let me tell you how she's bad. Let me tell you what you need to fix. She said that's by far the biggest red flag. So if you're in a dynamic with someone who's not a team player, who's not wanting to actually help and heal and grow with you, and just point out how you're wrong and how there's something messed up and broken about you, get away from them. Especially if you've tried to have conscious conversations about how you feel and how you feel they're being unloving, and they, like, nothing that you say, no matter what tone you say it in, it doesn't get through. And let me just tell you, like, so straight up, you know, we can't change anyone. We know this if we're on our own healing journey. The only way that people change is that they want to change, that they want to get out of that transformer costume and just be a human being and be real and deal with the feelings of life and deal with being vulnerable and really allow love into your life. You can't allow love into your life if you're living in a transformer costume. You also can't allow love into your life if you refuse that you deserve love, which is the opposite, right? Usually, even, it's interesting, even in the twin flame dynamic, the divine male, the unhealed divine male, suffers more from arrogance and from narcissism, whereas the unhealed female suffers more from, like, unhealthy empathy, and because they don't have self-worth, they put all of their worth in trying to maybe be helpers or pleasers, or just they don't even try anything in life because they believe this lie that they have nothing to give the world. So they actually, this is the shadow of the empath, they look for people like narcissists who are actually more highly functioning because they have, at least on the conscious level, they have a higher opinion of themselves, more confidence, usually a greater ability to create money and to manifest. So the empath that believes that they don't deserve that they can't do that they're not the creator, will look for someone to hire someone to do their bidding, right? So I'm going to tell you how to heal that. But the narcissistic supply, right? If you don't admire them, the feeling of supply, you know, it's one thing to admire someone and respect someone and adore someone and verbally tell them, you know, how beautiful and how much you respect them. It's a whole different energy. The energy of supply is like people that say, it's like a little kid, like, aren't you proud of me? Aren't I awesome? I just blew those people's minds. Aren't I the best? Like, it's a whole different feeling. And if you are not interested in being a mother, which is oftentimes what these people are looking for, oftentimes they're looking for the love that they never got from their mother. So if it's like a male-female dynamic, they will punish the woman for not being the mother that their mother never was. And that punishment can look like disdain, it can look like just a refusal to forgive, it's like, look how much pain I'm in. You're not giving me what I want. You're not giving me what I want, and I hate you for that, right? But what it looks like in an adult, it can be as subtle as just having constant disdain for you, never forgiving you for anything, never having no compassion for your humanity. You know, that's one of the reasons why, that's one of the, you know, the story of the genesis of the narcissist. They're looking for a mother, and if you're not interested in being a mother to a man, then this is going to start to feel repulsive to you. So when you start to individuate and when you start to heal, a lot of times they're going to try to stop you. From what I've learned of people that have dealt with this disorder for many, many years, narcissists want to be seen as the good one, right? If there's languaging in your relationship, like, that essentially means I'm the good one, you're the bad one. I'm right, you're always wrong. I have my shit together, you're the empath that hasn't figured out how to create for yourself. You're the one that's so overwhelmed by your feelings and emotions. Clearly you're the fucked up one in this situation. You're the fucked up one, right? It's funny because the narcissist also likes the supply of that beautiful compassionate energy from the empath, but then when a conflict arises, they refuse to take responsibility, and then they actually they refuse to take responsibility, and they beat up on the empath. It's emotional manipulation. So the empath oftentimes has extremely volatile reactions to this person because we all know that nothing is ever all your fault, right? And if you listen to an empath that is unhealed, what you will get from them is like, I'm the bad one. Maybe I'm bad. Maybe it's true. Maybe I am bad. Like, clearly there's evidence. Like, I haven't figured out life. Like, I haven't figured out how to stop feeling so strongly. Like, I haven't figured out how to turn that off and focus on maybe things that would be healthier to focus on. Clearly, I am the problem. When you're in this dynamic, it actually literally feels like you're in a fog. Like, you start getting dizzy, you start getting in a fog. Like, if you're in that dynamic and you know that something is terribly off about this, even if they are itemizing, which by the way is one of their symptoms, they itemize and they keep records of everything that you've ever done wrong, so that they can reinforce their story that they are the saint, that they are the good one. They keep evidence of it. It's very strategic. It's very tactical. So like then you get into like the part where it's hard for the empath to heal is like, okay, part of you believes this because you wouldn't be accepting this, right? Remember eating poop. Why are we eating poop? Why are we in a relationship with someone who blames us for everything, who doesn't take any personal responsibility, who actively resists seeking help or other perspectives, and who is convinced that we are wrong and bad compared to them? Why are we eating poop? Because we believe we're poop. Because we believe we deserve it. Because we believe what they're saying. We're getting what we believe about ourselves. We believe that, and this is for me, I don't believe this anymore, but an empath believes that a deception, which is that we have no worth, there's nothing to give, I have nothing to give this world. I'm such an intense feeler, and I'm so aware of everything that clearly I haven't figured out a way to develop my healthy male energy, which that's part of the healing process, developing the healthy male energy to be able to focus. And it drives the empath crazy because the narcissist can easily turn off their feelings and focus. And that's why they manifest more easily, because they have a better ability to focus the mind. But it's unconscious male energy because it's unaware of how it's destroying the whole. And the empath is an unconscious female energy because they're absorbed in sensation without the ability to move forward. So how do you move forward? How do you move forward? Well, you have to develop healthy male energy. First of all, you have to have the conviction to realize that disconnecting from this dynamic is a better option than staying in it, because you cannot change anyone. And the only way that people can get out of these states of being is by their own choice, by their own realization of the damage that they are doing. And in the case of a narcissist, that transformer costume is just way too fun. Not always. It takes, for someone to heal that, they'd have to be quite awakened. They'd have to have a lot of access to the soul, because they would need to feel something greater than the transformer. It's a little easier for the empath to recognize the damage that's being made, because it's like, well, I just keep getting sick. I'm not creating anything. I'm not moving forward in my life. I keep destroying myself. I keep getting hurt. I keep getting left with nothing. All the money disappears. I seem to invest all my time in supporting and encouraging someone's business, and then I get left with nothing somehow, or I get no reciprocity. Like, unfortunately, sometimes it takes years to notice the damage, but once you see the damage, it's pretty effing obvious, right? This is not a good way to live. So how do we stop eating poop, y'all? We realize, okay, in order to individuate in a healthy way, you have to have the courage to disconnect from these things, and maybe they will transform. But the only chance of this dynamic transforming is that you really truly disconnect from it, because you need to be able to show yourself that you have the strength, the healthy male energy, to be able to feel. You are a strong feeler. That's a beautiful gift. People say, like, oh, empaths are only empaths because of the trauma in their lives, and they're only empathic to negative stuff. That's not true for me. I'm empathic to the ecstatic beauty of life, which is kind of what has got me trapped before in bad situations, because I really do see the beauty in people. And I feel the beauty and I feel their heart. So it has been difficult for me to know, like, when to disconnect from that. But I'm sharing with you, like, you need to disconnect if there's no accountability from the other person. If there's a refusal to be a team, a refusal to build together, a refusal to take your best interests, a refusal to understand you, a refusal to even hear anything else than what their story is, you can't buck that current. You need to move on. At least for now, you need to disconnect and break the cycle. So in order to heal this absorption in the unconscious feminine, we have to have the inner strength to say, okay, I don't need to connect to an environment, a partner, in order to feel my self-worth. My self-worth has nothing to do with another person, with having a partner. And the reason why having a partner feels like such an important piece of worth for an empath is because of that core wound of, like, I don't believe I can do it alone because I'm so messed up, because I'm so sensitive. How can I do life alone? Like, I can't even imagine that, right? But in that energy, you're going to attract someone that proves that to you, because they'll use you for your good qualities and then they'll leave you with nothing. So you have to say, he's not my source, she's not my source, that's not my source. I am source. I am source. I am a creator. I have the creative energy. God flows to me and through my channel, just like it flows to everybody else. And I have to accept that. And I have to accept that that's my real power. It's not trying to hire someone to do my bidding because I don't believe I'm capable of anything. Like, just, what a fucking lie you're telling yourself, that you're not capable of anything. It's the deception, like, that is the self-deception that attracts people that hurt you. It's the answer to how to heal this is to stop abusing yourself. Stop hurting yourself. Because really, the empath is not a victim either, right? We are, in our own transactional way, looking for people to do what we don't believe we are capable of doing. So the answer is to be like, of course I'm capable. God, the universe instilled within us all gifts and abilities and divine energy that is ours. And that feeling of wholeness can only be embodied if you have the courage to feel all the fears that you're going to feel when you start to disconnect from this dynamic. Maybe you have no one for a while. Maybe you will have to feel that shame that you've been living in, that you don't believe you have anything to give this world. All right, feel it, and then ask your heart, is this true? Is this really true? And of course, the answer is no. The answer is no, baby. Like, you are divine, and your worth doesn't come from your partner or anything else. You don't need to be connected to something to have worth. We want to be connected to things. We want to enjoy partnership, but you want to be, the optimal experience is two whole human beings that are not interacting on a transactional basis. The empath doesn't need the narcissist to do their bidding. The narcissist doesn't need the empath for their narcissistic supply, for the admiration, for the mommy they never had, right? So you have to become a whole being where you're not choosing anything. You're not choosing people in your life based on your own sense of not being able to do something for yourself. It doesn't come, like when Cher famously said, I don't need men. I love men, I don't need men. And her mom said, settle down and marry a rich man. And she said, Mom, I am a rich man. And I love that, because what she was saying was, she said later in that interview, my relationship with men is amazing because I don't need them. I have my own money. I have my own self-worth. I'm me. I love being me. I choose men just because I love them for no transactional reason. That's it. And it's okay if you choose to be in a dynamic where, you know, one of you is the breadwinner, but it has to be in an energy of like, this is my gifts. Maybe my gifts that I bring to the table is that I'm an incredible nurturer and I want to be a stay-at-home mother. I want to do that. Like, this is my jam. I love taking care of other people. If you're a whole person knowing that there's nothing wrong with you, there's nothing wrong with that, there's nothing broken about that needs to be fixed, you're not an anti-feminist because you don't want to run a corporation. Right? If you know that this is your beauty and your gift, you will attract a partner that adores you for that and that will cherish and protect that. They will not use you for their supply. They don't need you to be their mommy. They don't need you to be a supply. It's not a transaction. So it's not about like, to be whole you have to necessarily learn how to make tons of money, and it's acknowledging that whoever you are in your sensitivity and in your nature is good enough as it is. It's good enough as it is. You're not bad. And if you're in a relationship where someone's always telling you how bad you are, it's because you believe you're bad. You have to disconnect from that and reflect and come to the self-realization. Like, literally talk to your heart all day long. Tell me the truth of who I am. Tell me the truth of what I need to know about myself so that I'm a whole human being, so that I'm a whole radiant human being, a soul in this world that doesn't need to make choices from a transactional consciousness. So what another thing I wanted to say, I was beginning to say about the empaths usually that are unhealed, that they have very volatile reactions because they can sense that, of course, nothing's all your fault. Of course, you can sense stuff that's going on with the narcissist usually that they will never admit to. So you'll have a volatile reaction because the feeling of being gaslighted, even if they're not trying to gaslight you, there's a gaslighting thing going on because you can feel something that's very true that they're very much in denial of. And that drives you crazy. That drives you crazy because one of the wounds of the empath is that usually that they have been gaslighted, that things that they feel are very real aren't real. So how do you heal that? If you feel something is off, it is. You don't need to you don't need to scream at someone. And sometimes that's part of the healing process, right? When you get out of a repressed state of energy, you move into fire and you begin to get this energy out, this frustration that you've always been in dynamics where you know that something's terribly off, but the person is not validating it to you. The answer is validate it for yourself. If something feels off, it is, period. Don't wait too long to try to figure out what it is. If something is off, even if the person looks like the most angelic, perfect person in the world to everybody else, if something is off, it is. And eventually other people will see what you aren't seeing. Eventually other people will see it, but that doesn't matter. What matters is that if something is off to you, it is. Period. End of story. So that's how you heal. You trust your feelings. You don't need to stay connected to the situation and try to change them, because it's only when we don't have self-worth that you try to change a person that can't be changed. Be in your feelings. Talk to your soul. Realize that you are infinite intelligence that has so much to offer this world. You don't need to eat poop anymore. You deserve better. You deserve to feast. You deserve abundance. You deserve somebody who cherishes and protects you, and you have to cherish and protect yourself. You have to cherish and protect yourself. So I hope this is helpful, and I hope you have a beautiful day.